Hi, I'm Mitch Westra, and this is my project managing presentation. Uh, Moving on to slide 2. So, project managing is very important because it really establishes a reputation for both you and the company. Uh, the reputation that you give off is found out by the company based off of how well you did on the project you were assigned. And the company's reputation is also reflected uh, based off of like how well you did from the customer, who looks at the company and decides whether they like that product or not, like whether it was actually like effective. Does it do what it do? Does it do what it needs to do? So a good employee reputation is really it really helps a company's reputation as well, which is why it's so important to have a good reputation. Also, having a good reputation really allows you to move up in the company too, uh, through rewards and responsibilities given to you. Whereas it can be vice versa. If you have a poor project management skills, they won't want to put as much trust in you because you don't know what you're doing or you don't want to try in certain ways. You'll have responsibilities taken away from you, and the company will be reflected negatively, uh, as will you. So moving on to slide 3. I'll need this because I will be running designing operations, and that will be using other people's skills in order to reach a common goal that the company will give me. So that would be like solving design problems that people give me. So if I get a problem where something needs sealed, I'll help design the seal, but I'm going to need people who are able to manufacture, test, and distribute. It goes through a lot of different people other than just me, uh, which means that the project size is actually a lot greater than something that just one person can handle. Uh, Moving on to slide 4. So slide 4 is about the project initiation phase, which is looks at like starting off the project, right? So that's like establishing teams and getting a project moving. So as you can see from the image, uh, the first order of business to take care of is the business case, which is why the project is needed in general. So is this actually worth pursuing? And if it is, why? The feasible study is about if the project is even possible to succeed. So some projects we just don't simply have the technology for, and we can't tackle them right now due to that. Uh, so it's important to make sure like this project is even possible to do. The next step is creating a project charter, uh, which every every project must do so that they can initiate people into the initiate people into the project so that they can get them used to it. Uh, the next step is to assemble a team of people that have skills necessary to to progress the project further. So that was what I was saying earlier about getting someone who knows how to test things or how to weld things or something like that. Anything I might need. And then the next step is to get a support office where the team members can go to if they have any questions or have trouble with something. Uh, After that, it's just reviewing the project initiation phase so that uh, like everything is in order and there's nothing missing. Moving on to slide 5. So, uh, initiating my future projects uh, might be a little bit different from other business projects because I will need to manage projects eventually, making this very important. And I would not know how to start this off. How have I not been introduced to this class? Um, but the main component that's different is I would choose based off of skills such as like certification skills, like this guy's certified in welding or this guy's certified uh, in running like a CNC machine or something like that. Whereas others might look at uh, like what personality mixtures or something like that, how the team works together. Whereas I'm just looking at skills. If I need a guy to mill out this code, then I want him to do that on his CNC machine. Uh, so it's all about what they know and are certified in doing, mainly for me. Uh, that's how it is in most engineering facilities, I imagine. And moving on to slide 6. So slide 6 is the project planning uh, phase. which, as you can see by this image here, it starts off by following the project charter that you developed back in the initiation stage. This using that project charter, you complete the cycle of just getting everything ready before you actually commence the project. So the first step in this is to schedule tasks. So scheduling tasks is like scheduling little milestones along the way, so that not everyone's looking at the big picture, because the big picture is hard to see from so far away. Scheduling a milestone where it's like, hey, we need to do research by this point is much more manageable than, hey, we need to have a fully operational car, electric car by this point, or something like that. So scheduling milestones to get you there is the task scheduling. It's very important that you organize that right and make everything in sight. Next thing is to review the resources that you have at your disposal. That could be like materials or other companies, other partners that you're in cahoots with. You want to use all the resources you have at your disposal so that you can fully utilize everything at your disposal, and come out with the best outcome, so that you don't leave anything left out that another person can be like, hey, well, why didn't you use these guys, because they know what they're doing. You want to be the guy who does that and knows to utilize those people and those resources. The next thing is to look at the budget. So you might have these people in your resources, but the budget might not allow for that, or it might not be able to handle that, which makes it very important, because that's like your limiter. So you might have all these cool ideas, but according to the budget, you can't do those ideas. But once everything is reviewed by the budget, then everything should be fine to keep moving. And then the next thing is like, you might be able to do these things within budget, but is the quality good enough? Is the outcome good enough? So that's important to look at that. Once the quality has been established, that it's going to be good enough quality after the fact of everything has been done and the budget has been taken into account, the risks involved are the next thing to look at. So like, if we were to make this product, would it affect other products that we've made in the past? Like if you look at the oil industry right now, the oil industry is booming because everything needs oil. We're making so many things that need oil. And now Tesla comes out and they have this electric car, and it's great. It works really great. It might be a little bit expensive, but it's like the initiation into the future of vehicles. And now the oil companies might not like that, because of all the jobs they produce. Like, no one would like that. No one would like everything to just switch over just like that, because of all the industry that would be lost. All the jobs would be gone. Everything depends on oil right now, which is why just switching over to an electric powered everything is not the best plan, even though we know it's bad for the planet, and we know we just don't want it to I guess, run our lives. Once it's out, it's out. And we're not really approaching that soon, I don't think, but we always are just like scrounging to find more oil, because we're so dependent on it. We need to have a slow transition into it, but that's like a risk involved for them, and that's for everything too. The next thing is to establish communication. Communications are key in every project. So communication makes sure everyone's on the same track. If anyone needs help, if they can go to communication. No one can do everything by themselves. Everyone needs to know what they're doing, and tell other people what they're doing, so that everything can be coordinated amongst each other. So moving on to slide 7. For my future job planning, there will be a lot of money at stake for me, because I'm new at everything. I will be new at everything, and first starting off, I'll be designing things that need to be tested, and go through a lot of different processes of manufacturing, testing, and then maybe even distributing too. And all of that involves like a lot of money. A business plan might be something like, we need more advertising or something like that, which it costs money, but but testing of things that might not even work also takes up a pretty good amount of money. It takes up materials, it takes up the time of people, it takes up manufacturing time. So that's one thing that I would have to be very careful of and plan carefully about. Some past experiences have really taught me what poor planning has led to, and that's not using milestones or not scheduling properly. So there have been times where a class would give you a project and they'd give you like a chunk to do it, and they say like, hey, here's, you start here, you end here, and I need this by that time, and they leave it up to everyone else to discover like all the milestones in between there. I have found that not many people like to do that very well, so everyone's always cramming at the end to get things done, and it's never the best it could be. So milestones are important, that you hit those along the way so you know exactly where you are in the project. And that's scheduling in those milestones as well. Now, it's important to make sure that there's a reward that everyone can see at the end too. It's a grade. It's money. It's something like that, because otherwise there's no incentive to do it. It's really important to break up the work too. Although if you do break up the work, communication is very necessary, because it is very difficult to manage something when the work is all broken up, when you don't have good communication. So moving on to slide 8. Slide 8 is the project execution stage, and this is where you actually start the product. This is where you start making everything. Everything was planning before, but now you start. So you start off testing a product or a prototype, and and then you actually make a final product. But this can go back and forth for a long time, depending on how well it was designed or how difficult the constraints are. And then after you have a product finally made that has been tested and retested, you examine the past and future operation systems of that product, meaning like, will it work like in the future, or is this just going to be like a one-year thing where you put all this time into, all this distribution into, and then it's going to end just like that, like in a year, because it's going to be out of date or something like that. So it's important to look in the future. Next thing would be something like packaging. So packaging has an entire engineering industry based off of packaging engineers. Packaging engineers look at like how this needs to go together so that it doesn't break along the way, or how can we ship this so that it doesn't like go through this climate or something like that. And then commencing the product launch is like the actual like implementation of the product. So like you're actually shipping this out and giving this to truck drivers, and then they're going to Walmart to sell this. And then the support is like helping making sure this does not fall under the table, and everything like continues to go as planned. So moving on to slide 9 is my future execution planning projects. So solutions are a big trial and error thing. I'm going to be stuck in that phase for a long time, because that's a lot of there's going to be a lot of trial and error, especially with all these custom products. So that being said, testing is really crucial to me, and making sure it works, testing before you actually implement this and give this to the customer is very important. Development can be either custom, so it's like one or two, or a very small amount for like one company, or it can be a large scale where you create a standard like OWIN or something like that, where it's just standard, where it could go on anything that might fit that standard. Packaging is always something I'll need someone to tell me if this is going to fit inside this constraint, so that it's able to be shipped. And then implementation is finally like giving it to the customer. So I would hand it to them myself, or I would give it to a shipping company if it's big enough. And then my company would support. They actually have a big support system where that's a part of what I would do. Is I really help it like make its way. Like if something's wrong with it, I take it back and I fix it and then give it back to them. I fix their problem for them. I don't just hand them something and just end it there. Moving on to slide 10. So this is establishing monitoring and controlling. Monitoring and controlling is establishing a schedule so that everything can roll at the same, like looking at data so that any errors or anything can be fixed, and the process can be cleaned, and then it just like looks through it and then cleans it right back up so that the cycle doesn't get messed up, and you can reach the most full potential of your product. And then going on to slide 11, project closing and wrapping up is just reviewing everything so that everything is within the constraints, and you can decide whether the project was successful or not by then. And slide 12 is my references, and thank you very much.